All math and science elementary participants met together for the first time today. It was here that the grant objectives and expectations were introduced to the participants. The teachers were given pre-test and interviews to gather data from, and the itineraries of events, courses, and research opportunities were communicated to the elementary teachers. Teachers were organized into research teams, and materials, flip cameras, and Mac computers were checked out to each team. Dr. Chris Keller of Cameron University discussed 21st century technology and wiki training as well as computer training. He began with an explanation of 2.0 technologies, giving many examples the teams might be able to use in their own classrooms. Step-by-step instructions were given for how to log on to the wiki site, build a web page, and use 2.0 technologies, as well as how to use the flip cameras and Mac computer software. The Summer Institute courses began with Lance Gibbs, AP Physics instructor at Eisenhower High School. He trained the elementary teachers to think outside of the box and into combining math and science in their classrooms. Their emphasis was on inquiry science and math games. Each elementary team explored their math and science game, developed lesson plans, graphed data, and identified past objectives at their grade level. Teams collaborated in groups, wrote up their lesson plans, and presented their findings. The last day of class, each teacher received a booklet of all the inquiry lesson plans that they had brainstormed together as a group.
We went a little bit higher thinking, and we divided it between their little animals in here, like sea and land animals, sort according to which ones go on land, which ones go on sea.
Counting sheep when you're trying to sleep, being fair when there's something to share, being neat when you're folding a sheet. That's mathematics. When a ball bounces off of a wall, when you cook from a recipe book, when you know how much money you owe. That's mathematics. How much gold can you hold in an elephant's ear? When it's noon on the moon, then what time is it here? If you could count for a year, would you get to infinity or somewhere in that vicinity? When you choose how much postage to use, when you know what's the chance it will snow, when you bet and you end up in debt. Oh, try as you may, you just can't get away from mathematics. Andrew Wiles gently smiles, does his thing, and voila, QED, we agree, and we all shout hurrah as he confirms what Fermat jotted down in that margin, which could have used some enlarging. Tap your feet, keep in time to a beat.
Professor Shirley Gose, Elementary Mathematics. Professor Gose spoke to classes about appropriate mathematics in the elementary classroom and offered advice for how to best implement graphing and interpreting of graphs in the elementary class. Many types of graphs were discussed, as well as the purposes and scenarios for each graph. Teachers were given the opportunity to discuss and collaborate about prior wins they have had in the classroom that are based off of past objectives in mathematics, data collection, or graphing.
7 times 8 is 56, which as you know is just 5 tens plus 6, and so we put the 6 right here in the tens place left of the 1, carry the 5 like we did before to the top of the tens place next to the 4, then multiply that 4 times 8 to get 32. See, isn't this great? Then we add the 5 that we carried before to get 37, then add once more straight down to get 3,901. Isn't this swell? Oh, let's give multiplication a standing ovation. Isaac Newton multiplied a couple times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2. It's simple, it's breezy, it's fun and it's easy. So buy a calculator and study this stuff later. Maybe someday you can multiply numbers 2, 3, 4, 5. Recess!
Dr. Mickey Cooper, along with Dr. Jack Taylor and Claudine Daniels, introduced wildflower and leaf anatomy, wildflower and leaf identification, and dichotomous keys to the elementary teachers. Those lead teachers challenged the students' anatomy knowledge by making them identify, through use of a dichotomous key, several examples of flowers and trees. The elementary teachers also were able to use their Nova 5000 microscope probeware to examine minor differences between plant internal and external anatomy. Teachers went to Lake Latonka, Pavilion No. 2 with Claudine Daniels for wildflower and tree identification. They used hula hoops to take samples of wildflower diversity. Teachers were to find samples of at least 5 different wildflowers and identify and count the number of each wildflower in the sample. This method will be used in the future to compare southwestern Oklahoma wildflowers with southeastern Oklahoma wildflowers. Participants also took leaf samples and used dichotomous keys to identify the trees in their area.
Penny, did you say there were 5 or 6?
There's probably, we'll say 5.
Yeah.
Okay, call it coneflower, take a picture of it, and we'll key it out. Be sure you get the leaf. And you wonder if it's cat claw, because there's several acacias, but just feel that stem.
Will you show me again? It doesn't look close to like a person.
See this? We've touched it and it's kind of closing up all over, but see right here? Close right.
When I'm dancing close to her. Science. I can smell the chemicals.
Notice how this is a little seep area. The water kind of comes down. There's 2 or 3 places where it runs out of the water, the rocks there. And we find growing here some members of the lily family. This is the wild garlic or wild onion.
Elements in harmony.
What's the leaf arrangement? Alternate, good.
Hit me with technology.
And then 2 things hooked together is what the word literally means, zygotes. 2 things together, and these have bilateral symmetry, so there's 2 sides hooked together for that bilateral symmetry or zygomorphic. Once, twice makes it bipinnately compound. Leaf arrangement, alternate. Remember, 1 leaf per node.
Dr. Tyler lectured over internal and external fish morphology, with emphasis on incorporating fish vocabulary into the elementary classroom. Teachers were given many take-home resources as well as dichotomous keys which could be used to identify the Oklahoma fish. The Nova 5000s were used to take a closer look at goldfish specimen. Teachers were able to apply content given to them in the lecture to identify fish anatomy of their samples.